All right, so you want to understand corruption in Peru.
Well, we've got an interesting source for this deep dive.
Okay.
It all starts with this story about a Peruvian president with a Rolex,
Oh,
which you know is a detail straight from the source and a pretty fancy watch for anyone, especially considering her salary makes it kind of impossible to afford.
oh, wow.
Yeah, so you'd think that'd be a huge scandal, right?
Yeah,
The president rocking a watch way out of her price range.
for sure.
But here's the thing, it's not,
Really?
at least not in Peru.
That's wild. It really shows how normal corruption is in Peru. I mean, for something that blatant to not even be a big deal.
So, like, it's more than just turning a blind eye.
Yeah,
It's almost like everyone's just decided to ignore it.
it's like it's become invisible, just part of the background.
Okay, so it's like, why make a big deal about a Rolex when it's probably just the tip of the iceberg?
Exactly. And when it's everywhere, it warps what people see as normal.
That's a scary thought. How does something like that even happen? Like, how does it get so ingrained in a society?
To really get that, we've got to look at Peru's history, their social structures, even their unique social dynamics. It's complicated.
Okay, so where do we even start with untangling this web?
Let's go back to the president and her Rolex.
Yeah.
You were surprised, right?
Yeah.
Even a little outraged.
Yeah, a little bit.
But the source says most Peruvians didn't bat an eye.
Huh.
That reaction, or lack of one, it comes from this deep cynicism, this belief that anyone with power, they're corrupt.
Oh, I see. Like a they're all corrupt anyway kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's learned helplessness. You see it for years, decades even, this behavior, and nobody stops it.
Makes sense. But this source, it doesn't just stop at watches, does it?
Not even close.
Yeah.
It gets into how this corruption plays out in everyday life, like donations.
Donations.
Yeah, donations. Imagine working for a Peruvian Congress member, and they expect you to hand over 30% of your salary as a donation.
Wait, 30% of their salary? That's insane. Like, how is that even legal?
Well, that's the thing about corruption. It hides behind these normal-sounding words.
Like donations.
Exactly. It shows just how deep this problem goes in Peru.
So we've got these donations, a president flaunting a Rolex. Oh, is this just how it is there? Like, has it always been this way?
Well, the source actually goes into the history, and it's pretty shocking. Since Peru became independent, there's been this pattern of people taking power, not earning it.
You mean like not through elections or anything?
Right. And when power is taken like that, it creates this culture where being in charge is about getting rich, not serving the people.
It's like that saying, to the victor go the spoils. But it's been going on for centuries.
Exactly. And that history is why we see the cynicism we talked about earlier. People see this happen generation after generation.
So it's like a cycle, right? Where do everyday Peruvians fit into this? Especially those without power or money.
That's where this source gets even more interesting. It talks about how the lower classes don't have much access to education. So it's created this whole other system.
So you're saying that when there's no clear path to success, people will find other ways, even if they're kind of shady.
Exactly. And this is where this uniquely Peruvian concept comes in, the pendejo.
Pendejo. It's kind of got a ring to it, like a weird term of endearment, maybe?
That's what's so interesting about it. It's an insult, but sometimes it's like a twisted kind of admiration.
Really?
Yeah, the source says it's someone who's cunning, they know how to work the system, even if it means breaking the rules.
So they're like a celebrated con artist?
Kinda, it's like they admire the hustle,
Right.
finding a way to make things work even when the odds are stacked against them. And like we were saying, for people without access to education, those odds are often really stacked.
Yeah. It's kind of a tragic admiration when you think about it. Like this source is saying corruption isn't just a problem, it's how some people survive.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
When there's no clear path to success,
Huh.
people find their own ways, even if they're not exactly ethical.
So how do you even begin to fix that when it's so ingrained in everything?
It's tough, for sure. But the source, it offers a little hope, I guess. The key is to break that cycle of poverty and lack of education.
Oh, okay. So like give people other options.
Exactly. Give them a way to get ahead that's actually legit, so they don't have to choose between being honest and putting food on the table.
Wow. This deep dive has been something else. We started with a president and a Rolex and ended up talking about poverty and education. It's a lot more complex than I think people realize.
Absolutely. And that's kind of the point of these deep dives, right?
Right.
To go beyond the surface.
Right. So listeners, hopefully you have a new perspective on what's happening in Peru. It's not just about bad people, but a system that sometimes makes it impossible to do the right thing. And that's it for this deep dive. But as you learn more about this, ask yourself, could giving power back to the people be the answer to corruption? Something to think about. Until next time.